Bree stepped into a hall at the foot of the stairs, revealing a wide passageway of carved red stone and a sealed set of obsidian doors, beautiful, terrifying, like some great beast was kept behind them.
If you stop thinking of the library as a library and start thinking of it as a prison, it becomes very interesting.
Why
How
did
are
you
you?
sleep for 3 hours last night?
'Tis the holiday season, and we were at a Christmas party of a mutual friend that we have. So the Christmas party started at like 7 p.m. and it was in Annapolis, Maryland, which is a very classy place. And literally at 7:01, someone rang the doorbell, and I was like, "Wow, this is incredible! This is going to be a grown-up party." And there's all this food, and the person who rang the doorbell was her grandma. And I was like, "This is fucking awesome! I love this.
Amazing.
This is such an adult party. We're going to be in bed by 10:30."
Yeah,
and
incredible.
What happened was that the adults left by 10:30.
Yeah.
It was like a parental generation left. And then
you proceeded to get, to continue.
Karaoke started. And
with a karaoke machine?
Yeah, she has a karaoke machine. You'll laugh
I am
at
susceptible to those.
Derek was like, don't do this. Don't do this. And I was like, all right, I really want to sing Falling by Alicia Keys. He was like, you can't do that. And I was like, I know that I can't do that, but I have just enough alcohol in my system to not care that I can't do it. Yeah, like I knew it wasn't going to be good.
I will try.
But I did try, and it wasn't good, but everyone sang along. So that was fun. And it was like, we were among friends, So it was like, okay, whatever.
Casual.
But I, being in my 30s, basically my mid-30s at this point, at 1 a.m. was like, I'm going to go to bed at a reasonable time. Went upstairs, tried to go to bed, forgetting that karaoke was happening downstairs. And then I was like, okay, I just have to wait for this to be over. It turns out I can't go to sleep while everyone's singing karaoke downstairs. At like 2 a.m., I heard closing time, and I was like, I know what this means. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you slept over at her place.
Yeah. Thank God. Got a
I
nice
see how
big
this
house.
happened then.
Yes.
I thought that perhaps you were exiting at some point, but if you were never exiting, then you never actually had any hope.
No. It was a sleepover party situation. At which point you're just kind of in it for the ride, There's nothing to be done.
Yeah. You take a lot of risk when you sleep over at the venue of the holiday party.
That's the only thing that could be done.
Yeah.
So we're a little sleepy today, guys. We're a little cozy, but it's the holidays. We're still going to give you a great episode. We're excited to be here. Yeah. How are you?
I mean, so I also have a chaotic weekend, but a different kind of chaotic weekend, in that people came into town to me, and there's just a lot of work happening in this apartment this weekend.
Yeah.
Work chaos, family chaos. It's my dad's 60th, so my parents came into town for his 60th, which is fun. It's fun. It's good.
Happy birthday, name
Happy
redacted.
Birthday, Dad. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday, Ronnie's dad.
Happy birthday, Dad. So that's like chaotic, but fine. But like, man, this morning, I'm like in my element. Like, this is my element. This is
episodes? Or
No. I mean, no. My prep for these episodes, to be clear, was also chaotic. Everybody can see the title of these episodes. So this is the library episode. There's too much. That was chaotic. So we'll get into that. But I woke up this morning to like 4 inches of snow outside, which is my element. It's so pretty, and it's winter, and we have a balcony, and there's snow. I mean, my dog hates it. Rory hates it. He's very upset. He's curled up in his donut bed. I took him outside this morning to just do his business, and he stopped dead in the door frame. He was like, what the fuck are you asking me to do
you think you are?
Yeah. Excuse me. He had his coat on. He had everything. He was equipped. It wasn't like I was asking him to go out into the wild with no equipment.
With nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. He was prepared. But it was still actively snowing, and he was just like, what are you doing? I was like, it's going to be okay. And he went to the bathroom literally faster than I've ever seen him. Sprints back inside. We tried to get him to go out to play on the patio. Hated it. He's just curled up, as small as he possibly can be.
He's a summer boy, a summer baby boy.
He's not even really summer. He's fall. He's what's the word for exactly the right temperature? Temperate?
Yeah. That sounds right. My
He's a
brain's not
temperate
working.
boy. He's a temperate boy. Can't be too hot, can't be too cold, needs to be just right.
Yeah.
He's
a Goldilocks boy.
Middle Baron Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So chaotic, but happy that it snowed and that it's white and pretty outside.
I wanted to show you my shirt.
Manan, I saw you posted this on Insta.
Yeah.
It's actually so good.
Do you like it?
I like it, and that it's interesting because that I imagine it's a wyvern. The thing on it reminds me of the.
I know.
Doesn't it look exactly like for everybody? I'm holding up the coverless hardcover of Alchemized, which has
I believe this shirt came first.
Thing.
But yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this was like a remade fan fiction, so I'm sure that the shirt came first.
Guess what? I got one for you too.
Oh my gosh. My favorite character of all time.
I know.
I mean, she's fucking sick. I love her.
At some point,
much.
I'll give it to you in person. But
I love it.
I saw them. I was like, I have to. I have to.
It's so good. I mean, they are the two. Oh, gosh, I can't even choose. There's so many amazing female characters in Sarah J. Maas's books.
Yeah.
I can't even choose.
I don't think there was one for Feyre. I don't think there was a Feyre shirt. I don't remember.
No, but I don't even think that Feyre, I mean, I love Feyre, but I don't even think she stacks top 3. Like, Helena, like, she's amazing, too.
Yeah.
So many good ones.
So many good ones.
So many good.
Yes. But
anyways.
All right.
That's how I am. Real mixed bag over here.
I think this will be a fun. At the very least, I think it'll be a loopy episode because
I was going through my notes before this. I'm like, what the fuck did I write?
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Abby.
I'm Ronnie.
And this is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart our favorite, your favorite too, hopefully, fantasy series
Everyone's
over the course. Everyone's favorite. The internet's favorite. Fantasy series over the course of an undetermined number of episodes this season. You guys know this by now, but if it's your first episode, we are covering A Court of Thorns and Roses series, also known as ACOTAR by Sarah J. Maas. Disclaimer. These episodes will contain spoilers for the entire ACOTAR series. We will announce any other Maasverse spoilers ahead of time, and we keep them to the end. We have an ACOTAR section, and we have a Maasverse section. So we will keep those to the end. Other disclaimer, this podcast is rated R. Do not listen with your children. Each week we dive into a specific topic in depth. This week we're focusing on, you put in a very lengthy sentence here. This week we're focusing on.
I wanted to clarify, there's a lot of libraries.
There's a lot of libraries. We're focusing on the capital L library, or as Ronnie put it, the library carved into the mountain beneath the House of Wind, also known as the home and refuge of many priestesses and souls in need. Home of Bryaxis, home of a deep, dark, mysterious pit. Well, not a pit. We'll get into it. The library, guys. We're covering the library in the House of Wind.
In the Night Court. The Night Court.
In the
library.
Night Court.
Not Helian's library, to be clear.
In Valeris, in Prithian, in the book ACOTAR. We're going with receipts. We'll have quotes to back up any theories so you can follow along if you're skeptical. Ronnie, do we have any announcements?
I think we've just got the usual deep dive music brought to you by Schwoodley, SCHWOODLEY. He's a great artist. He's a real artist, real person. Check him out on Spotify if you like our deep dive jingle. I don't think I have any other announcements. Like, rate, comment, subscribe. It really helps us out. We put that at the end too, but we know that not all of you have read the entire Maasverse. I'll also just throw in here another standard announcement. I'll add this to our weekly outlines. Read the Maasverse. It's great. Read Crescent City, read Throne of Glass. No, but seriously, like, rate, comment, subscribe on whatever channel you listen on. We don't really care which one it is. We know you guys ask that sometimes too. It does not matter to us, but wherever you do listen, if you don't follow us already, it would help if you did. And we always love to hear from you. We always love it if you like an episode, like it. If you have something to say, please comment. It helps a lot. We're a small podcast, but we are trying to grow. Thanks.
And if we like your comments, we read them out sometimes.
We read them out sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, cool. All right. Ronnie, COSMs.
Corrections, omissions, social media shoutouts. I don't have any for ACOTAR only.
Okay, I have a couple fun ones.
Okay.
as I predicted, as I thought might happen, and what did happen is that you guys went fucking wild for our Eris posts on social media, which was super fun. A number of you commented about Eris and Asriel being mates, and you categorize yourself as Eris and Asriel shippers, which I did not even know was a sub-genre of shippers within this series, but I fucking love it. I'm so here for it. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but like, and you guys were like, why didn't you talk about this? I'm like, I want to be clear. I didn't know about this. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ronnie and I kind of try to not actually Google things related to this series because we don't want like other people's theories to influence ours. So we kind of try to stay pretty like out of it. So I did not know that this was a corner of the internet, but I love it. I'm here for it. It brought a huge smile to my day. So thank you for everyone who is out here commenting about your love for Eris and Asriel. We're all for it. I totally think Eris could end up with a man. I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. He's, I'm not going to stereotype any behaviors out there, but he is better at clothing than I am. I will put it that way.
He's good at, I just, his whole romantic preferences have been such a mystery at this point that like, I would, whichever direction she wants to take, it's all good.
Yeah.
With me,
I won't lie. He has proposed marriage in some way, shape, or form to women 2 times. So.
Yeah. But I never thought it was a romantic connection.
Yeah. And he has made clear that he wouldn't have touched the first woman.
Yeah.
So I feel like the door is open. The door is very open. I do have, if we're in the vein of fun social media shoutouts, I've got one. I replied to a fun comment that was also in response to Eris posts. I didn't recognize how much of a reaction the Eris posts would get. And I made a post that was just like, who's Team Eris out there? Because you know that I am Team Eris. Yeah. Big Eris fan over here. There are people out there who are Team Eris. Like we got probably like 25 comments of people saying like Team Eris until the day I die. Our friend Morgan put I'll flash it to the folks who are watching this on video, a photo with the caption, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, of fan art of Eris by Enchanted Chapters Art. It's beautiful. I don't follow them, but I'll find their page. And I'm shouting that out because this is actually beautiful fan art. But it's a fan art of Eris with SpongeBob overlaid licking it. Just flash it there.
Oh my God.
I've said it once and I'll say it again.
My God. Did Morgan
Eris
make that or does that image exist out there?
No, I think the art existed, like the image of Eris, but the SpongeBob was overlaid.
Well done, Morgan. That's some good art right there. That's some good fun humor.
Yeah.
That was great.
So, yeah, we've got some pro Eris fans, some pro Eris people, and Eris fans out there. Yeah. And I love it. I think he's super fun.
I love it too. Cool. That's it. All right. So, this week's fun question. Ronnie, what genre of book do you think was each Bat Boy's favorite growing up?
Okay, so Bat Boys, Rhys, Asriel, Cassian. That's how I answered this question. And I know we kind of have an answer for Cassian, but we haven't met Cassian as an adolescent. So I answered it as an adolescent.
Called bullshit on that genre being Cassian's favorite growing up. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't think it was his favorite growing up. He's now a mature adult. Yeah. Right. Totally agree. Yeah. For Rhys, epic literature, like Lord of the Rings. I think he would fuck with Lord of the Rings if he lived in today's society. I also think he would love like Les Miserables, like epic tales of like long journeys and heroic acts where like love is found, purpose is fulfilled. Like I think that's what he like dreams of and dreamt of as a child.
Yeah, I buy it.
You buy it?
I bet.
Even though he was, kind of like a warrior brute growing up.
Yeah, I could see Rhys being very into like War and Peace and like Tolstoy, which I have not read. I want to be so clear, but like kind of fitting into what you've said, like big epic stories about big questions and like just like, war, peace, that kind of thing.
War and peace.
War and peace. Yeah, like, big fancy books, basically. Yeah. I could see Rhys being into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. For Asriel, I feel like I would love for him to like shock everyone and be into like chick reads, but I think he'd be into like tragedies and tragic romances, but I could also see him into like mystery thrillers. So examples I picked out for him, I think this man would love Wuthering Heights. I know I won't shut up about Wuthering Heights, but I think he would fucking love Wuthering Heights, argue with the wall. I also think he would love like Dan Brown, Robert Langdon style books. He's a spy master. Like he loves unraveling a plot. I think he'd love them. What do you think?
what popped into my head immediately for Azriel, and I don't really have an answer for why, is I feel like he'd be very into manga. And that would be primarily what he reads.
I could see that.
Right?
Like a cyberpunk situation?
Yeah, just like he doesn't really read books. He just reads Japanese comic books. It's kind of like his whole sad boy vibe that he has going on. I feel like that's a real manga thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't read much manga, but I hear good things.
This isn't book related, but if they lived in today's society, I feel like Azriel and Cassian would, I don't know why this popped into my head, but I feel like they would play Grand Theft Auto for like 12 hours on a random Sunday.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I could see manga. That's a good one. For Cassian, I did have War and Peace on this list, but I also had more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like kitschy style, Jack Reacher, Mission Impossible, like cool guy fighting crime shit.
I just really don't think Cassian read as a child. I just don't think he was a reader. I'm being honest.
He didn't read.
Just can't see it. Can't see it.
He wasn't interested in the orrery, and he wasn't interested in books.
Not until he was like, oh, these books are relevant to war. I'm all for it. But yeah, I can't see him reading for pleasure. I just don't think that's what he would do for pleasure.
Yeah. Reading helps me fight. Okay, I'll partake.
Right. But I'm sure now Nesta has certainly got him into the steamy romance novels.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they, bookmark some pages.
Tutorial purposes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, that was fun.
That's a fun one. We shall see. I feel like we're going to get opinions, so let us know.
That's good. That's good. We love opinions. All right.
Opinions. And they don't even have to be that informed for this type of question, so have at it. You know how we feel about the level of informed your opinion should be. But for this one, it's fine.
All right. Shall we deep dive?
Let's deep dive.
Deep dive. All right. Ronnie, question number 1. What is the House of Wind? Wait, it's a 2-parter. How does it have a heartbeat?
This was unexpectedly a bear of a question. I need you to know that my notes for this question, and I admit that I did not need to pull every single thing that the house did, ended up being 9 pages. I'm not going to read every single quote, but that's what ended up happening. So I'm going to go high level, and then we can click deep wherever we want to click deep. Okay? Okay. All right. What is the House of Wind? Let's start at the top. What we learn about the House of Wind, and then maybe what the House of Wind becomes over time. Okay? So the House of Wind is, at first glance, a home of Rhesus, right? A home of the royal family of the Night Courts. A palace, really, built into a mountain. And we first learn of it in A Court of Mist and Fury in chapter 15. It's basically Rhesus and now Feyre's. Well, I say now Feyre's, then Feyre's, now Nesta's. We'll get there. Public home for receiving guests, holding meetings. They host Starfall there. It's basically like a show home, kind of, until Nesta shows up, and a place for holding like guests that team beyond the townhouse's capacity, effectively. And so the description that we get of it and the mountain that it's in is in A Court of Mist and Fury, chapter 15. I'll read the quote because I think the way that the mountain is described is interesting, right? These mountains behind me, they were sleeping giants, somehow alive, awake. The middle peak, Rhys said, from behind me, and I whirled, remembering he was there. He just pointed towards the largest of the plateaus. Holes and windows seemed to have been built into the uppermost part of it, and flying toward it, borne on large dark wings, were 2 figures. That's my other home in this city, the House of Wind. And then it's referenced as a palace in A Court of Wings and Rue in chapter 15 when Rhys is talking about the sisters being there. They didn't leave the palace built into the upper parts of the flat top mountain. The House of Wind was warded a long time ago, and we don't know who it was warded by. It was warded against anybody from winnowing directly into it, including High Lords, including Rhys, right? That means that your only options are flying directly in or walking up famously 10,000 steps, since it is built into the top of a mountain. And that quote is, the House of Wind is warded against people winnowing inside, exactly like this house, even against High Lords. Don't ask me why or who did it. That's Rhys. So Rhys doesn't know. And it's warded against Rhys. So it's not like the prison, right, where there's an exception specifically for Rhys. It's against everybody. Nobody specific has access.
I agree with you a bit, but I think it is like the prison in that you can't you can't winnow in. Right? Like Rhys can't winnow into the prison. He still
Rhys
has
can't
to
winnow
winnow
into the
to
prison.
the
That's
prison.
fair.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's not like there's anything specific that's keyed to Rhys within the house until we get to the library where it does start to seem like there's some things specifically to Rhys, which I know you made fun of my long sentence at the beginning, but the library is under the House of Wind. Okay. So yes, we are talking about the house and the library here. So the House of Wind is built into this mountain that seems to be alive, awake, asleep, that was boarded a long time ago by someone we don't know who did not make any exceptions for anyone in particular. The library is within the House of Wind, so we're not going to really talk about the library within this question, but it's underneath the House of Wind, so I'm going to just cover it when we talk about what the House of Wind is because it's kind of relevant to like ownership of the House of Wind. So when Rhys and Feyre go into it, they descend underneath the house to reach it. That's in A Court of Wings and Ruin. Feyre saying, I've never been to a library, and they strode down level after level beneath the House of Wind, my words echoing off the carved red stone. So the library is literally carved underneath the House of Wind. Whether the library is counted as part of the house or whether it's technically under the house, it's in the same mountain. So it's in the same mountain. The library doors are described interestingly, right? And Rhys's behavior and how they respond to him are interesting, right? That quote is, Rhys stepped into a hall at the foot of the stairs, revealing a wide passageway of carved red stone and a sealed set of obsidian doors, veins of silver running throughout. Beautiful, terrifying, like some great beast was kept behind them. I'm just skipping a bit. He approached the doors, which opened on a phantom wind, as if the mountain itself lived to serve him. So this is our first hint, right? When we get to the library, that the mountain, of which the House of Wind is carved into, actually does answer to Rhys. It was as if the base of the mountain had been hollowed out by some massive digging beast, leaving a pit descending into the dark heart of the world, which is an interesting way to describe a library.
Not like any library I've been to.
Around that gaping hole carved into the mountain itself spiraled level after level of shelves and books and reading areas leading into the inky black. So it's not giving cozy reading nooks. It's giving a monster dug into the ground and we put a spiraling library into that space. And then the passage kind of concludes, silent and yet alive, awake and humming and restless, some many-limbed beast at constant work. So this is all under the house. Long story short, Rhys made this library a refuge for the priestesses. And the only other noteworthy thing about the library is that it made its own rules, right? And we learn this when Rhys and Feyre are starting to mess around and Rhys winnows away from her. And Feyre's like, what the fuck? You can winnow inside the house? I thought you couldn't winnow inside the house. And Rhys says the library makes its own rules, apparently. So that's kind of the House of Wind and the library pre-Nesta. Nesta shows up. Well, Nesta's forced to show up, more accurately. And changes some things. The house starts to change. We start to see it through her eyes. And the house interacts with her. It dotes on her, punishes her. It learns kind of her traumas, her interests. It also seems to have interests of its own. This house suddenly has a personality, which is not something that we saw through Feyre, through Rhys. And Nesta and this house develop a relationship that becomes seemingly like more and more sentient over time. And it kind of wakes up for her.
You were going to say sensual.
Sentient.
A sensual relationship. Anyway, continue.
I actually went through and recorded every personification of the house, which was probably overkill. But basically, like, the house ends up caring for Nesta, right? Like, the house cares enough about Nesta's well-being that it gets mad at her when she doesn't eat. It learns that Nesta's traumatized by crackling fires. It helps Nesta save Gwyn from Merrill yelling at her.
Yeah.
And Cassian kind of like notes that the house is developing personality. He has been around for 500 years, has never noticed this, has never heard Rhys mention it. And Nesta at some point says that the house might be her only friend. She says, I think you might be my only friend. And the house is like flattered. Like the house's heart is warmed. I'm picturing the house as a woman. I think that's
she's
just...
very, yes. So I just said she. Like, she's got very maternal vibes.
She's maternal. Yeah, she's a fussing nursemaid, I believe. She's described at some point like that. And when the house is mad, it punishes her. Like, after Nesta lashes out at Elaine, it ignores her. She ignores, I'm saying the house is a she. The house ignores her and forces her to hear fire. The house likes romance novels. They start sharing books. The house gives her gifts for Emerie. Like, the house is Nesta's friend.
Yeah.
It's very heartwarming. The house might be my favorite character in A Court of Silver Flames, which is saying a lot because Eris is also in A Court of Silver Flames. Sleepover House is my favorite version of the house.
Yeah. It was so cute.
And just as a refresher for everybody, Sleepover House is when Nesta... I just named it Sleepover House. That's not a real term. Sleepover House is when Nesta and Emerie and Gwyn are having a sleepover after Nesta and Cassian have their big fight. And Nesta calls in her bargain and says, Cassian, go away. Don't talk to me until tomorrow. And they start asking the house for just absurd shit. They end up in like a bubble bath with no clothes. And there's like bubbles with little birds fluttering inside. All of this aside, this house seems to have a heartbeat, literally in the stone, chapter 18. And that quote is by step 1000, this is Nesta gets pissed off. She decides to try to walk down the stairs. By step 1000, she had stopped entirely. There was only the spinning silence. Nesta closed her eyes and leaned her brow into the cool stone to her right, bringing up an arm to rest against it, as if she were clinging tight to a lover. She could have sworn a heartbeat thumped within the stone, as surely as if it beat within a chest beneath her ear. It was her own pounding blood, she told herself. Even as she clung to the wall, that heartbeat. She let her breathing saw in and out of her, let the trembling of her body ease. The heartbeat in the stone faded. The wall turned icy beneath her flushed cheek, rough against her fingertips. So this house does have a heartbeat. Spoiler. Like the question said that outright. And later, much later in the book, in chapter 58, right, the house reveals in a very touching moment that the house has a dark heart that is effectively the pit of the library. And that quote is in the library, Nesta's walking into the bottom of the pit. Nesta lifted the lantern in one hand and gazed at the darkness, untouched by the light from the library high, high above, the heart of the world, of existence, of self, the heart of the house. This, her fingers tightened on the lantern, this darkness is your heart. As if in answer, the house laid a little evergreen sprig at her feet, a winter solstice present for me. The house is showing Nesta, this pit, this darkness is my dark heart. I'm rambling here, but I have a point, I promise. I promise I have a so what. I promise I have a so what. So the house has come alive, right, under Nesta. We have a heartbeat early on. We have the house showing Nesta its dark heart later on, this pit of the library that is, quote, its dark heart. Amren later tells Nesta that she made this house, right? Amren says, you made the house. And that, quote, is Amren grabbed Nesta under the shoulder, hauling her up. The house sings, I can hear it in the stone, and when I spoke to it, it answered. Granted, it gave me a pile of romance novels by the end of it, but you caused this house to come alive, girl. I didn't do anything, that's Nesta. You made the house, Amren said, smiling again, a slash of red and white in the glowing dark. When you arrived here, what did you wish for most? Nesta considered, watching a few stars whiz past, a friend. Deep down, I wanted a friend. So you made one. Your power brought the house to life with a silent wish born from loneliness and desperate need. So Amren is explaining this to Nesta as, you made the house. And the house does end up Nesta's, like, buddy, right? Like, Rhys, after the whole events of A Court of Silver Flames, gives Nesta the house because the house seems to... I'm picturing in my head, this is not canon, that the house is basically like, I'm obsessed with Nesta. Like, don't you dare. Like, I belong to Nesta.
Yeah.
Nesta is going to live here. And it's interesting, right, that ended up being the case because it's telling of Nesta's powers and destiny in this series, given Rhys is supposed to govern this territory, that Nesta now has the House of Wind.
Yeah, that didn't even occur to me.
But what I think is interesting about this and about Amren's explanation is from the very beginning, Feyre recognizes these mountains as sleeping but awake. So I'm kind of hesitant to believe that Nesta, like, made this house. It seems more like she woke this house and that Nesta's powers seemed connected to this house all along. And what happened is actually not that she made this house. It seems more like the house was already asleep there based on how Feyre perceives it, like a totally different POV. And Nesta's being there and its reaction to Nesta's powers just woke it up, which is interesting and I think says a lot about how Nesta's powers are connected to those mountains in the Night Court.
Yeah.
I'm not sold that Nesta just, like, made this entire house.
I'm
saying
100% with you on that. I think that explanation does not work. I mean, it works the way you said it. It works in that she gave the house personality. She made it into her friend, but she did not. I don't think she made the house alive. There's actually I think Sarah J. Maas did something fucking genius here. So I want to go back to where you started, basically, right? Where Feyre is first looking at the house. So this is like literally the first quote we get about the house. It's in chapter 15. It's in the passage you read. And she's saying that she's looking at the house. The quote is, as if an answer, that undulating, slithering power slid along my bones like a cat brushing against my legs for attention. I ignored it, right? So she's looking at the house. She's saying the power feels like a cat sliding between her legs. In A Court of Silver Flames, chapter 13, we have almost word for word the exact same thing, but it's from Nesta's point of view. She says, and then a thump sounded on her cart as a gray leather-bound book with silver lettering landed atop her pile. Nesta's lips curved upward. Thank you. A soft, warm breeze brushed past her legs like a cat wending between them in warm greeting and farewell. So it's like, first of all, well fucking done. I think this is so good, Sarah. Like, oh my God, you're using the exact same words to describe this 4 books apart. I love it. But that's in Mist and Fury, that first quote, right? Like, it's way before Nesta shows up, and that's the cat-like power. And obviously we also have, later on, we have the cat-like power that the pit at the bottom of the library feels like. But that power was there before Nesta ever showed up. But I think it's exactly what you said. Nesta gives it kind of personality and a purpose, and she humanizes it, but she was not the genesis of this power in the house. So I think you're totally right about that. The doors of the library, the only thing I had to add, and I had the same quote you did, re-stepped into the hall at the foot of the stairs, revealing a wide passageway of carved red stone and a sealed set of obsidian doors, veins of silver running throughout. Beautiful, terrifying, like some great beast was kept behind them. There is a great beast kept behind them. Right? I think there are so many similarities between the prison and the library. And for some reason, Eris has this list of palaces, of mountains with palaces under them. And I don't know why the library is not on that list, because it seems like to me in both of them, we have deep, dark recesses under a mountain, right? The mountains, or I guess it's Romuald that seems alive, but like the mountains seem very important. We get images of the prison with all these like symbols on them. We don't know what those are. These mountains seem to be breathing. Both of them have creatures at the very bottom of them that don't want to leave their cages for whatever reason, right? Both the Bone Carver and Bryaxis seem hesitant to leave. And for some reason, Eris and no other characters have really made this connection yet. And I don't really know why, but in my mind, they seem really, really similar. So I think, we have to think about why the library might be here, why it might exist, why there are these crazy, crazy wards on it. Was it to keep Bryaxis in there? But we're going to get to that later. That's just kind of a little teaser for now.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll talk about this, but we should talk about it a little bit now, because I think we're going to talk about it more outside of this section. Like the darkness in the library persists once Bryaxis is not there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So is that beast Bryaxis? Probably. Like, that would be the simplest explanation. But is Bryaxis capable of Sarah's clearly tossing us something, right? It was as if the base of this mountain had been hollowed out by some massive digging beast. Like, is Bryaxis a massive digging beast? Maybe.
Or is there something else?
Is there something else? Was there something else? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Nesta did not create the power in the house. That power existed before she was there. The library and the prison seem so similar. And that darkness, this is the last thing I want to talk about. The darkness at the bottom of the library. Yes, we are given an explanation that it is the heart of the house, and that works, but it's also really similar to other things. And I think that bears discussion. So the quotes we have for that, and I don't know if I'm going to read all of them, but the darkness seemed to rise and fall like it was breathing. Again, we're getting this imagery of it being alive. The hair on her arms rose. Bryaxis was gone, set loose into the world. Even Feyre and Rhysand's hunting hadn't retrieved the thing that was fear itself. And yet the darkness remained. It pulsed, tendrils of shadow drifting upward. And then we have, there was night, and then there was the darkness of extinguishing a candle, and then there was this. Not only the true absence of light, but a womb. The womb from which all life had come and would return. Neither good nor evil, only dark, dark, dark. Right? So we have dark, dark, dark.
Yeah.
I like this is so similar to the cauldron, right? This is so similar to the way that Nesta describes the cauldron when she goes in, right? So the quotes we have for that, the cauldron's famous favorite line, in the beginning and in the end, there was darkness and nothing more. We literally just got dark, dark, dark for how this for how the bottom of the library is, right? And then again, this is all in the Silver Flames prologue. When she opened her mouth to scream, when the pain ripped her very self in two, there was no sound. There was nothing in this place but darkness and agony and power. She tore into the darkness with talons and teeth, rent and cleaved and shredded, and the dark eternity around her shuddered, bucked, thrashed, wrapped in black eternity, Nesta in the cauldron, twined, burning through the darkness like a newborn star. So does she just like this dark imagery, or does the darkness of the library have something to do with the darkness of the cauldron? It would kind of make sense, right? If they do, because we are told specifically, and we'll get into this later, but like calls to like, right? And that's why Nesta seems to be so susceptible to the power to whatever's at the bottom of the library. Obviously, she has the power of the cauldron, right? So if they are somehow linked, does that provide this explanation?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my only additional notes. But
yeah,
it's if you stop thinking of the library as a library and start thinking of it as a prison, as a place to trap a great beast, it becomes very interesting. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Very interesting.
It becomes very interesting.
Yeah. Yes. It also, I mean, I know we've already said this in a couple subtle ways, but I'll just say it in a very overt way. It is shocking to me, and I'm sorry to all the Reese stans. I'm a Reese stan. You guys know that. But he has ruled over this territory and this library for so long, has had nowhere near this impact on the house, and Nesta has just brought it to life and effectively taken it over. Like, not against Reese's will, of course. Like, Reese handed it to her, but like, it just makes Nesta's story to come much more interesting.
Yeah,
Certainly
I mean,
does
I
not
think
feel
that's
like it's done.
Such an interesting point, right? Like, and maybe it's not about the amount of power, but the type of power. But like, I think everything
type of power.
Yeah. Right. Like, if Nesta is able to do this to the house, and if the house and the library do have a connection to the cauldron, what will she be able to do to the cauldron, right? If it's a similar thing. I mean, we've had some interactions; they haven't gone great, but like, she's much more powerful now, you know?
Yeah, into the prison.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Abby, will you guide us through, please, a Priestess Deep Dive?
I shall. And guys, this will be kind of obviously a little shorter than our normal deep dives, but we wanted to give the priestesses their due and talk about them. So just to set some context here, just so we all remember this as we're talking through the stories of these priestesses. The quote we have: "A library is a temple of sorts," Reese said with a wry smile, "but the priestesses here, as we entered the library, proper golden lights flickered to life, as if Clotho had been in utter darkness until we'd entered. They are special, unique." I don't actually know why I had that quote at all. That tells us absolutely fucking nothing. Good job, Abby.
But I actually could predict why you might have had that quote. These priestesses are incredibly different from Ianthe. Like,
yeah,
Ianthe has had no power that we have actually witnessed, right?
Correct.
These priestesses clearly have actual magic.
Yes.
Clotho has magic. Merrill has magic.
Yes.
Gwyn has magic. Like, they all have actual, tangible magic that we have witnessed. Don't know what's going on with Ianthe. Are they real priestesses? I don't know. But these ones are. These ones are something. These ones are magic.
These ones have some magic. And just as a reminder, all of them have gone through something terrible, which is how they ended up here. Except maybe not all of them. I don't know. Get into it. All right. So let's start with Clotho. As you just said, so what we know about Clotho, she is the head of the library. She survived a horrific attack at the hands of some females, but had her tongue cut out and her hands mangled as a result. Poor Clotho. We feel terrible about that. As Ronnie just mentioned, she does have actual magic, right? So what that means is she can actually move things without using her hands. Have we seen anyone else do that? I think we talked about Reese at one point floating in orange, but I don't. Yeah. So we've only seen Reese do it as far as I can tell.
So Clotho and Reese, perfect.
So Clotho and Reese. I think we see Gwyn do it at one point, which is interesting. So yes, that seems to be a priestess capability. The other thing, at one point, it seems like she actually hears Feyre and Reese communicate mind to mind. I don't know if you caught this. When Feyre meets Clotho for the first time, she leads them into the stacks of the library, and Feyre and Reese are walking behind her, right? So she can't see them. The quote is, "Robes rustling, Clotho aimed for the sloping walkway into the library, and we fell into step behind her. Reese and Feyre then proceed to tease each other, mind to mind, and then Reese pinches her butt, all of which they're doing while walking behind Clotho. But then Feyre says, I could have sworn Clotho's shoulders shook with laughter. How would she have known that? Unless she could hear, like, they're teasing each other mind to mind. I now wish I had written down the actual quotes. I don't know if you did. But like, I don't know why she would be laughing, because she wouldn't have seen Reese pinch Feyre's butt. Like, did she hear what they were talking about, which would be kind of wild. Yeah, go ahead. I don't have anything else for Clotho.
I think she might have more. I think that quote plus another quote, which is much more subtle, indicates she might have more magic than just this like telekinesis that she seems to have. And the other quote was with Nesta. And that quote was, Clotho considered her again, like she could see the churning, roaring sea inside her that refused to leave her alone for so much as a moment, that refused to grant her a second of peace. Nesta lowered her eyes to the desk, forced herself to release a breath. But with its escape past her lips, that familiar weight swept in. I am worthless and I am nothing, Nesta nearly said. She wasn't sure why the words bubbled up, pressing on her lips to voice them. I hate everything that I am, and I am so, so tired. I am tired of wanting to be anywhere but in my own head. She waited for Clotho to gesture, to do anything to say she'd heard the thoughts. The priestess motioned to the library above and below, a silent dismissal. So not only does Clotho, looking at Nesta, seemingly force these thoughts that Nesta has to the surface, but Nesta looks at her like expecting that Clotho had heard them somehow. I actually think that Clotho has something that allows her to see into souls, sense something more than just, voices, and I think she has something more. Is what I'm sensing from that passage.
And we talked about this in another episode. I can't remember which one, but Clotho is the name in Greek mythology, I believe, but it might be Roman mythology, of one of the three sisters of fate, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah, I think
so
it's Greek.
She seems like a minor character, but if she is one of the fates, obviously that's a big role. So we don't have very much on her right now, but we are looking forward to hearing from her more, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah,
certainly.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is Merrill. So the reason I said we don't know, we think that all priestesses have had something traumatic happen to them. We do think that, but we do not know what happened to Merrill. So the quote for that is, all have endured. This is Gwyn talking, sorry. We all have endured. She rubbed her temple. I hate ... So I hate to even speak ill of any one of my sisters here, but Merrill is unpleasant to everyone, even Clotho. Because of her experiences, I don't know, Gwyn said. So Gwyn does not know what brought Merrill to the library. No one knows what brought Merrill to the library. Her physical description is also pretty interesting. So white as fresh snow contrasted against the light brown of her skin, and eyes the color of a twilight sky blinked once, twice. We don't really get ages, but is her hair white because she's really old? We don't know how old Clotho is. We know Gwyn's pretty young. We don't know how old Merrill is, but is she potentially incredibly old, or is her hair white for some other reason?
No, I think it's white for some other reason, because the quote starts with, Nesta was greeted with a surprisingly young face and a stunningly beautiful one. So I think it's more she just has white blonde style hair.
White blonde hair and eyes the color of a twilight sky. Very interesting. All right. Her research is very, very interesting, right? So the quote for that is, when she first came here, she was obsessed with theories regarding the existence of different realms, different worlds, living on top of each other without even knowing it. Whether there is merely one existence, our existence, or if it might be possible for worlds to overlap, occupying the same space but separated by time, and a whole bunch of other things. I can't even begin to explain to you because I barely understand them myself. Some philosophers believe there are 11 worlds like that, and some believe there are as many as 26, the last one being time itself, which Gwyn's voice dropped to a whisper. Honestly, I looked at some of her early research and my eyes bled just reading her theorizing in formula. Oh. The last realm being time, we know that the last string on the harp is time, right? So what the fuck does Merrill know? We need to be talking to Merrill more, is my thinking. That's all I'll say about that at the moment. Last kind of really interesting thing about Merrill, and we have talked about this on this podcast before, but this is our official time to talk about it. So let's talk about it. She has wind power, and she claims to be descended from the Western Wind. And I hadn't even realized this on my first reread or my second reread, but every time Merrill walks into a room, the wind follows her. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So the quotes for that is, for that are: Gwyn winced, turning slowly as the white-haired beauty appeared from the gloom. Her pale robes flowed behind her as if on a phantom wind, and the blue stone atop her hood flickered with light. Gwyn bowed her head, face paling. I meant nothing by it, Merrill. Next one. The wind whispers to me even here under so much stone, Merrill said. It finds its way in through the cracks and murmurs the goings-on of the world in my ear, Merrill snorted. Do you think you are entitled to do as you please now? Again, we've talked about this a lot, but the other characters that we know hear the wind whisper are the Bone Carver, Bryaxis, Amren, Azrael. So like a lot of powerful beings, and then Azrael, which we don't really know what the fuck is going on with him. So what does Merrill have to do with these insanely powerful characters? Later we get a silver-haired figure stalked down the aisle, a cold wind at her heels, and the others gave her a wide berth. Wind snapping at her heels, Merrill stalked into the gloom. And then we have this quote, which kind of explains it, but really just asks a lot more questions. I am descended from Rabath, Lord of the Western Wind, Merrill seethed. Unlike Gwyneth Berdara, I am no lackey to be dismissed. I have written in my notes, who the fuck is Rabath? Maybe Robith, I don't know. Who the fuck is he?
Yeah.
I looked, I couldn't find anything in mythology. I did a Google. So I do not know who this is. I do not know what he's based on. I'm excited to find out more. Rhys does tell us, though, that the Fae were once more elemental beings, right? We have that idea of the Fae and Prythian once being more elemental. Does Rabath have something to do with that? Possibly. The only other person we've seen with wind power like this, at least genetic wind power, which is what we think this is Tamlin, right? Mm-hmm. What would his connection to Merrill be? What would his connection to Rabath be? I have one other fun theory that I saw on Tumblr that I want to shout out. So this theory is from High Lady Elaine on Tumblr. You should check her out.
Okay.
Merrill, we read this quote before, mentions hearing the wind whisper to her.
Yeah.
High Lady Elaine has a theory that the one whispering to Merrill on the wind is Koschei. So the reason for that is because when Vasa is talking about Koschei, Vasa says that Koschei whispers on the wind, direct quote, and both her hair, Merrill's hair, and the feather of Swan Girls are described as white as snow. I don't necessarily think that is enough to go off of. However, we do not have Merrill's backstory. No one knows why Merrill showed up at the library, and she is researching the most interesting thing in this world, as far as I can tell, right? So, we have some open questions about Merrill. We have some possibly loose, possibly not loose connections to Koschei. She's definitely a bitch, for sure. So,
she's rude. Yeah.
She's rude. No one's a fan of her, right?
Yeah.
So I think, we possibly want to keep an eye on Merrill and ask ourselves what her motivations are, what she's doing, why she is where she is, and how she got there. That's all I had on Merrill. What about you?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. The wind. I had all the same general notes that you had. You mentioned the youthful face, the snow white hair. I think the eyes, I want to talk about a couple of things on the eyes. You mentioned the color of the twilight sky. I looked up what a twilight sky looks like because I feel like that's a very interesting description, right? And eyes seem to be something that we focus on in this series. Rhys has very interesting eyes. Feyre's the eyes of the Archeron sisters seem to be a trend. This is the color scheme that I got when I looked up Twilight Sky. And for anybody who's not watching this on video, it's got purple, pink, yellow, amber, orange. So there's a gradient, but largely purple, right? Which is the color of Rhys's eyes.
And Rhys's eyes are described also with sky imagery. So what color are Merrill's eyes? Are they the same color as Rhys's eyes? That would be very interesting. Is she from this court? I don't know. But how did she get here? Where did she come from? We have no idea. But her eyes are said to be remarkable all the time. So many times. She's said to have remarkable eyes almost every time we see her. Merrill's remarkable eyes narrowed. Merrill turned her remarkable eyes to Nesta. Every time Merrill's eyes are said to go anywhere, adjective remarkable is in front of them. And so the fact that all we're given about her eyes is that they're twilight is strange to me. I feel like Merrill is going to come back as a meaningful character somewhere, in some way. Twilight could also be described as dusk. Some people would describe it that way. Okay.
And then on the Phantom Wind, you talked about all the places that wind come from. Phantom Wind specifically, right? Feyre and Rhys have Phantom Wind. they specifically have phantom wind, right? So Pharaoh, when she's tricking everyone with Ianthe, she uses a phantom wind. Rhys uses phantom wind all the time. Like, Rhys is the king of phantom wind. Again, like, if she has purple eyes and Rhys has phantom wind, like, what's going on there? Helion has phantom wind, so another High Lord. Who is Merrill? And then there's phantom.
Who's Merrill?
Who is Merrill? Like, and why does she and 2 High Lords and a High Lady have phantom wind? Who are you? And then there are phantom winds, of course, associated with the Suriel and the Suriel's death. So you also mentioned the Lord of the Western Wind. We've talked about this. We've talked about the Western Wind in a few different places now. And the only thing that we haven't talked about with the Western Wind, and this is admittedly a reach, I'm totally going to say right now, it's a reach. But one thing that I had not processed and we have not talked about yet related to the Western Wind is that the prison is part of the Western Isles, like west of Prythian. And so we have also heard from Rhys, and then Cassian has also said that Rhys has mentioned to him that the prison predates Prythian and perhaps was part of an 8th court. So is this Western Wind, is this Lord of Western Wind that Merrill's a descendant of, clearly isn't around anymore? Like, is it from that region? Is it from the Western Isles? Are we going to go west? Hybern's also west. So, like,
Hybern
what's
is
going on
west.
in the west?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's another connection to the Suriel, right? You mentioned other places we've mentioned the Western Wind. It says the Suriel moves through the world as if on a Western wind.
As if on a Western wind, yeah.
No, I think Merrill, put her in the one to watch category.
Merrill, one to watch. Someone get a watch on Merrill.
We don't have enough answers. We don't have enough right now to have answers. I don't think, at least not in this section of the podcast. But yeah, I think Merrill's going to be a key player.
Merrill, wish you weren't such a bitch. We have a lot of questions for you.
I mean, the research alone, she's going to be important. She's going to be important.
Totally. Yeah. But she also seems like creepy, powerful, creepy looking, like just a formidable character.
I agree.
For sure.
I agree.
Formidable and mysterious. Kind of like her in a weird way.
I could like her. I could grow to love her, I think.
I could grow to love her. She's kind of awful. I think I could grow to love her.
Is this not Sarah J. Maas's bread and butter? Taking an unlikable
really
character and making you love them? Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right.
That's enough about Merrill for now. I am sure we will discuss her again. All right. Gwyn. Big things about Gwyn. Again, guys, we've talked about Gwyn like many, many times in this podcast, even though we haven't had dedicated time to talk to her about her. So I'm going to kind of glance over it. But she's taller than your average Fae female. That's number one. So the priestess drew up to her full height, which was slightly taller than the average for Fae females. We learned that is because she is a quarter water nymph. So just something to keep in mind there. She has very flexible, pliant bones. We don't know what that's going to be used for, but just a fact about our friend Gwyneth Berdera here. Nesta's power responds to hers. So the quote for that is, a crackling sort of energy buzzed around her, and Nesta's power grumbled in answer. We know that like calls to like, right? So Gwyn has a crackling sort of power around her. Nesta's power is responding to that power. Like calls to like. Is there something about Gwyn that is like Nesta? Cauldron Maid, why would that be? We do not know. We will get to that later. She also, you mentioned this about Eris last week, but I wanna point it out here. I think Gwyn also seems to have an unusually good sense of smell. So Nesta asks Gwyn how she can tell all of the different priestesses apart because they all wear robes, and obviously Nesta is having a hard time. So the quote for that is, how can you tell with their hoods on? They appeared nearly identical save for their hands. Their scents, Gwyn said simply, and turned to the books she'd left on the cart. Do you plan to shelve these, or do I need to take them elsewhere? Nesta is high fae, right? So I don't know why Gwyn would be able to scent these people, scent these priestesses, and Nesta wouldn't. She uses her family name, Gwyneth Berdera. Unusual for these fae to use their family names. Even Rhys didn't use one as far as Nesta knew, but most call me Gwyn. Who else do we know who has a last name but doesn't use it? Lucian, obviously, right? And she glows, right? Last quote, Gwyn sang chin high, a faint glow seeming to radiate from her. That's in Silver Flames, chapter 52. We have an unusual good scent, which ties her to the Vansera family, which ties her to Eris, right? We have her using her last name. And we have glowing, which could tie her to Helion. So I'm pretty convinced at this point that Lucian is her father. I suppose, no, never mind. I was about to say, I suppose Eris could also be her father, but he can't because of the glowing. So yeah, I think it's Lucian. I think Lucian's her father. I think that's what we're going to learn. I have here, gives her heir potential, right? Gives her heir potential for both autumn and day. potentially. If we did our High Lords episode last week. If the heir of the Autumn line is actually through the mother and does end up being Lucian somehow, right? Like, which is a stretch, but at least for Day, she has potential to be the heir for Day. Be a fun setup. But yeah, I'm pretty sold. On the Lucian thing. Yeah.
I mean, she glows. So.
She glows.
The girl glows. Who do we know that glows?
Helion.
Hera? And
Helion. Yeah.
And probably eventually Lucian.
Yeah. Anything else for Gwyn?
We talked about her lineage. I think the only other thing worth mentioning is that her singing seems noteworthy also. I have quotes for this in a different part that I could bring up, but I'll just paraphrase it here. So her singing specifically, like her voice, is what is highlighted in particular when Nesta is dragged into her accidental scrying. So something about Gwyn's singing seems very powerful, and she glows when she sings. So she is powerful. She has power. Her power seems related to her light. Her power seems related to her singing. And her voice above everybody else's was called out as Nesta was dragged into this accidental scrying. So what else is going on with Gwyn's power? Could it be related to the fact that she might have high lady power? Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe she's just super powerful. Maybe it's something else. Maybe she has some other power. Maybe it's a river nymph power. I don't know. I could see river nymphs being siren-y.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theories out there that she's a light singer, right? Which sounds like a siren of this world.
What do light singers actually do in this world? Don't they like lure their prey and then turn into something hideous and then kill people?
Yeah, they're mentioned exactly once.
I got it. Okay. Lovely ethereal beings who will lure you, appearing as friendly faces when you are lost. Only when you're in their arms will you see their true faces, and they aren't fair at all. The horror of it is the last thing you see before they drown you in the bog, but they kill you for sport, not food.
Doesn't really seem like it. I don't know. She could be a quarter light singer instead of a quarter river nymph, but she clearly doesn't live in a bog. She seems to be a pretty true friend to Nesta. If she wanted to eat her, I would have thought the Great Right was probably a good opportunity for that. I like the High Lord theory a lot more personally, but now we've addressed it.
It's there. We get it. The singing is powerful.
Yeah.
Understood.
Cool. All right. Anything else before we dive into Maasverse? Cool. That was the end of our ACOTAR only section. I'm just going to plug again here. Like, comment, subscribe if you like us, if you listen to us. If you'd like to, we'd love to hear from you guys. And it helps us out a lot. We are on all the socials. You guys know where to find us. And we are going to start talking about the Maasverse right now. Love you. Bye.
Spoilers for Crescent City, Throne of Glass, all those books.
Yeah.
All of them.
Spoilers for the Maasverse. All of them. All right. Do we want to jump into COSMs for the Maasverse?
Yes. Okay. I have two minor COSMs for the Maasverse. One is from a frequent commenter we have, named Linnea, commented that when rereading ACOWAR, they realized that Moore also had red nails and came back to comment, let us all know. Let me provide some context. So, Feyre had a dream that a faceless woman with blood red nails was splitting her throat open and asking for her name. I said that Amren was the only person in the series that I could find that had red nails and was already suspicious. We've already now been through our Amren episode. We all agree that Amren has things to hide, probably. And Abby had said that Vesperus had red lips, red vibes, probably had red nails, so maybe it was her. But now we've also been through our Moore episode. We're sus of Moore too, so Linnea, this works. If Moore also had red nails, maybe we have reason to believe that Moore is suspicious as well. And the quote, just so everybody remembers, is, "A pale, faceless woman dragging her blood-red nails across my throat, splitting me open bit by bit. She kept asking for my name, but every time I tried to speak, my blood bubbled out of the shallow wounds on my neck, choking me." It's an ACOTAR, yeah.
It's an ACOTAR.
It's pre-everything. So we had some theories on who we thought that was. I thought it was Amren. Abby thought it was Vesperus. Now we're introducing a Moore possibility into the equation. I still kind of stand by what I said the first time around, but I think it was a fair call out. I did not clock that Moore also had red nails. So, receipt understood.
Still think I didn't prep this, so I might be misremembering. I believe in chapter 54, Rhys says that he saw Feyre's dreams. We know that Rhys was in Feyre's dreams, right? Mm-hmm. And he says he saw this woman splitting Feyre open. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know who she was, which is why I kind of think it can't be Amren or Moore. But I might.
I thought you just said it wasn't Amarantha. It's a faceless woman.
That's true. That's true.
No,
That's
face.
true. It's a faceless woman. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Could be. Could be. Could be. Yeah. Cool.
And
okay.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. Because to that end, it was a faceless woman. But if it had been Vesperus, I think he also would have probably thought that it looked like Vesperus looks like his sister. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
You're right. Maybe
Faceless woman.
maybe it's not. Maybe it's nothing. But yeah. No, I like it. It could be more.
More also has red nails. That's all we're saying.
More
Good
also
call
has
out,
red nails.
Linnea.
Good call out, Linnea. Thank you. Thank you for being such a good listener. We love you.
We love you. And then one COSM. It's an omission on my part. Just a omission. I can't remember whether I said we didn't have any Feyre Queen references, but this dates back to a Rhys episode when I had a crazy theory that maybe Feyre was everyone's heir. Maybe Feyre would be High Queen one day, basically. And I said we had way more queen-like imagery for Nesta than Feyre, which is still very much true. But we do have one moment where we have a queen reference for Feyre, and I totally forgot about it. And so I'm going to read it here. It's in A Court of Wings and Ruin, chapter 41. And it's when Rhys takes Feyre to the crown room, jewelry room, like the room where all the jewels are, basically. Rhys looks at her, we're in Feyre's POV, of course, as if some small part of me had always known that this was where I was meant to be, at his side, as his equal, his queen. Rhys inclined his head as if to say yes, he saw and understood and had always known. So this is, I don't know whether Sarah J. Maas changed her mind, whether this is still a tale that we're getting, whether this was just a little slip in there and that she's going to be just queen, quote unquote, of the night court. But this was a moment where it was a king and queen situation, and queen illusion for Rhys and Feyre. And then we got the High King question in A Court of Silver Flames for Rhys.
Yeah.
So my bad. We did get a moment where the Feyre Queen link happened. That's it. And then an omission for Merrill. Obviously, the whole Merrill thing. That woman is from Duskcourt.
Not only is she from Duskcourt, if Dorian and Manon have a baby, right? We got the wind, we've got the white hair, we've got the blue eyes. Well, I don't know what color her eyes are, but I'm assuming for generations. But yeah. No, I know, but she feels witchy. She feels extremely witchy.
She's witchy, yeah.
And we even have a quote. Nesta calls her a witch. She says, "To hell with this witch, to hell with restraint and hiding." And the wind imagery, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like she's a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
A witch from Duskcourt.
Yes. Cool. So that's my Merrill. Yeah. So my other Merrill omission from previous is, did she come to the library specifically to research the Asteri, right? We've talked about the Asteri archives, talked about them potentially being in the library. We don't know why she's there. Just as a reminder, we don't know why she's there. So does she know about the Asteri archives? Is she there to study the Asteri archives? Is she there on behalf of Koschei, which would be really fucking terrible to study?
A meme for Merrill in the library, and the meme needs to be, what is the reason?
Why?
What is the reason?
Why are you here? Yeah. Totally agree. Cool. I have a social media shout out from our listener, Maya. So this goes back to our Eris episode where I had the crazy theory that Eris is one of our missing princes of hell. Maya wrote to us on Instagram, "I just realized that in Greek mythology, the sisters of Thanatos are named Kyr. It's spelled differently, but Kyr and Eris. What if both Kyr and Eris have connections to hell?" So we have in Greek mythology, literally, Thanatos has siblings named Kyr and Eris. I had not considered the angle that Kyr might also be. This is a confession on my part. I have not paid enough attention to Kyr. I have not thought about the Hewn City enough. I have not thought about the Darkbringers enough. I openly admit that. They have not taken up enough of my brain space. I'm sorry, I've been busy. We got a lot going on. But yes, the Darkbringers are described so similarly to the demons of hell, and they have the shadows and they have all of that. So maybe at some point we'll dive into that more. But there's a lot of similarities there. And then we also have the Thanatos Eris connection. I'm still pretty sold on this idea that Eris is a prince of hell. I know you're more skeptical about it. It's okay. But yeah, that was a super, super fun social media shout out. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you, Maya.
The other thing that I believe Maya brought to my attention is that Nyx is their mother in Greek mythology. So
Yeah.
Nyx is the mother of Eris and Thanatos.
Yeah.
We talked about Nyx being super powerful potentially in this world in our High Lords episode. We know that Thanatos and all the princes of hell were birthed from the void and chaos. Yeah. That's what we're told. Again, will Nyx somehow become the void? I don't know how that would work. I don't know, but I'm still on the idea that Nyx is going to be a major player, and we need to think about him and pay attention to him. Whether that's in this series or in another series, I don't know, but
certainly
that's one crazy baby.
Yes,
cool.
Definitely one crazy baby. That's a Jack situation if I ever saw one.
It's a Jack situation. Cool. Ronnie, first question of our Maasverse section, 1 hour and 24 minutes into this episode. What is Bryaxis?
What is Bryaxis? So, Bryaxis. We first hear about Bryaxis in A Court of Wings and Ruin, chapter 20. We have talked about Bryaxis on this podcast before. So we've talked about him when we talked about Cassian. We talked about him. We talked about more. Like we've covered some Bryaxis. So we'll go at pace here, okay? But we learn about Bryaxis. I don't know what gender Bryaxis identifies as. I'm just gonna go with it until otherwise instructed. What's at the bottom of the pit? Feyre asks Rhys. Rhys once dared Cassian to fly down and see, and Cassian was basically traumatized. Feyre asks, is it some sort of monster? Rhys says, I have no idea. They don't speak or write of it, so if they know, they certainly won't tell me. This is Rhys talking about the priestesses, which is interesting, right? Because the priestesses do tell Nesta. So if it doesn't bother us, then I won't bother it. That is, if it's even an it. Cassian never said if he saw anything living down there, perhaps it's something else entirely. So Rhys isn't sure. What's at the bottom of the library? That's what he tells Feyre. Cassian has laid eyes on it, was absolutely traumatized, will not talk about it. And the priestesses won't tell Rhys about it. Interesting. We know Bryaxis' name because of Amren. There is a creature beneath the library. Do you know it? Amren shuts the book. Its name is Bryaxis. What is it? You don't want to know. Amren's like, just don't worry about it. This is its name. How do you know its name, Amren? These are questions that we should be asking. Amren, who has lived in the era of the Daglin / the Asteri, knows the name of Bryaxis. So Amren tells us Bryaxis' name, and then of course Bryaxis helps Feyre, makes a bargain with Feyre, and helps Feyre when the king's ravens come to kill her. And basically during this encounter we learn that Bryaxis is another non-corporeal being with a young and old voice. We are led to interpret its form as something that shows you your worst nightmares. Feyre calls it the face of nightmares. And to just summarize like the things that are important in this passage, because it's a pretty long passage, the ravens are attacking Feyre. Feyre is kind of in a corner. She's like, I need help. And she's basically in a corner with Bryaxis. And she whispers to the, quote, lurking dark behind me, what is your price? The raven's footsteps sounded so nearby they couldn't have been more than 20 feet away. Who are you talking to? One of them demanded. Bryaxis says, company. Send me company. And Feyre says to eat, which I think is a funny response. But Bryaxis laughs and says, actually, no, just to tell me of life. And so Feyre agrees, and she says, I could have sworn I felt it smile. Bryaxis says, shall I kill them? And Feyre says, please do. So then Bryaxis and Rhys kind of like team up and kill these ravens, which is kind of cute. So Bryaxis seems, in my mind, it seems like not a bad force. Not a bad force so far.
No.
But a dark and kind of terrifying force. Helps Feyre for a price, right? For the price of company, to tell it of life. It's described as a lurking dark. Feyre calls it a face of nightmares, which is interesting. Cassian says, do not look at it. So the way that I interpret this, and to be clear, it's very much an assumption, is if you look at Bryaxis, you see bad things.
Yeah, you see your worst
things.
nightmares, basically.
You see your worst nightmares. Cassian says, don't look, don't look. It's interesting to me that Feyre calls it the face of nightmares, and she also says that about Rhys's beast form. We've talked about how Rhys in his beast form is effectively a hound of the Asteri, like a guard dog of the Asteri. In short, and we'll talk about more like what we think is at the bottom of the library, but that's what I kind of think Bryaxis is a leftover pet of the Asteri. The library we talked about, right, in the House of Gwyn question predates courts, seems to have been dug into the ground, has this pit at the bottom. Bryaxis does not harm the priestesses, and the language that's used to describe it is similar to the language used to describe the hounds carved into the hewn city that also are the hounds at the foot of the dais in Lanthus's vision that are Daglin pets. So I think Bryaxis is a pet of the Asteri. That's it.
I agree with you on some things, and I don't agree with you on others, but I don't know if I answer that here or later. First of all, I'll just start with twice Bryaxis is described as fear itself, right? And I think that might be, it is possible that Bryaxis does not have any Maasverse connections. It is possible that that is what's happening here.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that. Obviously, I don't think that because of who I am as a person, but I want to acknowledge that he might just be fear itself. The quotes for that are, the first one's from Frost and Starlight from Rhys. I'd planned to hunt down Bryaxis down for months now to take Feyre and let her track down the entity first. That, for lack of a better explanation, seemed to be fear itself. And then the next one we get is Bryaxis was gone, set loose in the world. Even Feyre and Rhysand's hunting hadn't retrieved the thing that was fear itself. So we get fear itself for Bryaxis' choice. So that could be it. And then I wrote, but there's a lot of weird shit going on. So let's speculate.
But what would fear itself mean?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm
Just
saying
like
maybe
a
there's
Prythian creature.
Yeah, just like a creature of Prythian with no Maasverse connection.
But didn't Lanthus father a bunch of like boggy like creatures? Wasn't that a
Lanthus
thing?
did father the boggy, yeah, which never even occurred to me having a connection to Bryaxis. You could be right. I'm not saying I don't think Bryaxis is connected to the Asteri. I think he might be, but I do think there is potentially another possibility too. And it kind of gets into what we think is at the bottom of the pit.
Okay.
But hold on, let me just look real quick because I don't want to go through all this.
It's fine if you do. I don't care. I had a pretty short answer. Bryaxis is a scary blob of darkness that turns into bad shit when you look at it.
So I agree with you. I want to talk about Bryaxis in the battle. And I want to talk about Feyre's bargain with Bryaxis to actually fight in the Battle of Hybern. So first of all, much like the Bone Carver, he doesn't really want to leave his home at first, right? He says, this is my home. Yeah. I don't know if he means Prythian there or if he means the library, right? But he says, this is my home. Yeah. He doesn't want to leave. Why? I think we'll get into that to the next question. But it's really interesting to me that both the Bone Carver and Bryaxis do not want to leave where they are. The next thing Bryaxis says when Feyre comes to him to strike this second bargain is, will I be able to hunt without restraint on the battlefields, drink in their fear and dread until I am sated, right? Drinking in their fear and dread reminded me of two things. The first was the Valg princes in Air of Fire. So the quote we have for that is, so gentle those icy fingers as his thumb brushed her neck as he tilted her face up to get better stare into her eyes. And this is when Aelin first comes into contact with the Valg princes and the Barrow with the Barrow-wights. He says, your agony tasted like wine, he murmured, peering into the core of her. So we have Bryaxis saying, will I be able to drink in their fear and dread until I am sated? And then we have a Valg prince saying, your agony tasted like wine. Then we have Thanatos in House of Earth and Blood, right? So the quotes for that is, it has been a long while since a mortal fly buzzed all the way down to hell. This is when the mystic is in hell looking for Connor. I will taste this one's soul as I once sipped from them like fine wine, right? So again, we have this idea of drinking someone's soul. Next quote is, I do not care for my brother's agenda. I do not heed their rules and restraints and illusions of civilization. I shall taste all of you like this, you and your masters, once the door between our worlds is again open, starting with you, Starborn. So again, we have this idea of like tasting people. Also very interesting to me in this scene in the Second Crescent City, the way that Thanatos is communicating is in italicized writing, which is the exact same way that
So maybe it's
Bryaxis is communicating.
Yeah.
So I think he might be hell creature.
Yeah.
When he shows up at the Battle of Hybern, he is described as a living nest of shadows. You've brought up the Rigulus quote, which is kind of the nail in the coffin for this one, that when Hunt is talking to the princes of hell, he says, have you been talking to shadows? The quote, and then we have some more quotes. And through it all, Bryaxis, all I could make of it was a blur of ever-changing claws and fangs and wings and muscle, shifting and whirling within that dark cloud that struck and smothered. So yes, it does sound like the Asteri Daglin hounds. Also sounds pretty demon-y, in my opinion, like a demon from hell.
Yeah. Which is so, like, the similarities between the two of them,
I know,
really piss me off.
I
think both of them actually make, well, we'll talk about it in the next question. But
creatures with leathery wings.
But I think both of them also make sense in that, I agree with you.
Both of them make sense because there's kind of one of two things that could be happening here. We're going to get into in the next question. But just to get back to the idea originally, that this door to the library was constructed to keep a creature inside it. I absolutely think that is what happened. And I absolutely think it was done by the Asteri to keep Bryaxis in, basically. And maybe other things as well.
I actually did have hell as the answer in the next question, so I don't know why. I guess I answered the next question after I answered Bryaxis.
But it could be. Yeah, cool. All right,
no, I agree. I think it's it.
Bryaxis is either...
I don't know what I thought.
I think we should probably just get into the next question. In conclusion, I think Bryaxis is either what you said, either an Asteri guard dog, kind of like what we have, or some kind of Prince of Hell creature. We also do have a Prince of Hell guard dog, right, in the Bone Quarter in Crescent City. I actually think I have it in my notes.
Shepherd.
The shepherd, exactly. Yeah. We have the shepherd, right? So is it a similar idea? Could be.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to our next question, which I'm now thinking we probably should have asked before the Bryaxis question, but it's okay. We're learning here.
Yeah.
What is at the bottom of the library? I'm asking myself this question. I will answer this question. So these are the quotes we have from ACOTAR. We've kind of touched on them, but just to refresh everyone's memory. There was night, there was the darkness of an extinguished candle, and then there was this, not only the true absence of light, but a womb, the womb from which all life had come and returned, neither good nor evil, only dark, dark, dark. We already read part 1 of this quote. Here's part 2. Nesta. Her name drifted to her as if rising from the depths of some black ocean. Nesta. It slid along her bones, her blood. She had to pull back, pull away. The darkness pulsed backward, the likes of which she'd not seen since she'd been inside the cauldron, right? So we have, again, this cauldron link to the library. And obviously we know that the cauldron was corrupted by the Asteri. However, let's take a step back here. Let's talk about the library itself. Let's talk about the first quote we get about the library, right? So Feyre describes the library, and you already read this quote. It was as if the base of the mountain had been hollowed out by some massive digging beast, leaving a pit descending into the dark heart of the world. And that is Mist and Fury, chapter 20. We have other places where the earth has been hollowed out by a digging creature, most notably in House of Flame and Shadow, when Az and Bryce and Nesta are walking through tunnels to get from the hewn city to the prison. So the quote for that is, and this is Bryce talking, she said, if only to distract herself from the gross fauna of the stream, did the Fae make these tunnels. A few steps ahead, Nesta said nothing, but Azriel, trailing behind, mused after a moment. I don't think so. From the consistent size of them, I guess that a Middengard worm originally made these passages, maybe it even used these waterways to get around. So that is House of Flame and Shadow, chapter 12. We then later get a quote from our favorite bad bitch, Vesperus. Vesperus says that creatures like the Middengard worm are drawn to places where the Asteri hid their power. Quote for that. Vesperus backed up half a step, hissing at the gleaming weapon. We hid pockets of our power throughout the lands in case the vermin should cause problems. It seems our wisdom did not fail us. There are no such places, Azriel counted coldly. Are there not? Vesperus grinned broadly, showing all of her 2 white teeth. Have you looked beneath every sacred mountain? At the very roots. The magic draws all sorts of creatures. I can sense them even now, slithering about, gnawing on the magic. My magic, there is much vermin as the rest of you. So just to back up, we're not even at the full picture yet, but just to kind of recap what we have Feyre saying that it looks like the library has been carved out by a giant digging beast. We have Vesperus saying that giant beasts, vermin, creatures are attracted to places where the Asteri have left their power in the lands. We know this is like a first light core, basically, right? We get this in Flame and Shadow. We know that there's a first light core under the prison. Vesperus then goes on to tell Bryce that these are also thin places. So the quote for that is, but why store your power here? It's an island, not exactly an easy pit stop. There are certain places, girl, that are better suited to hold power than others. Places where the veil between worlds is thin and magic naturally abounds. Our light thrives in such environments, sustained by the regenerative magic of the land. She gestured around them. This island is a thin place. The mists around it declare it so. That is House of Flame and Shadow, chapter 25. Obviously, the library has not been described as a misty place the way that the prison has. However, we have like a couple clues that it might actually secretly be. So the quotes we have for this are Feyre saying the air thickens as she goes down. So the quotes for that, shelves and paper and furniture in darkness, the smell turning musty and damp, the air thickening, the darkness like dew on my skin. right? So we have the darkness like dew. That's sounding pretty misty to me. We also have Nesta describing the darkness as so thick it's like a layer of fog. The quote for that is, standing at the stone railing on level 6, clutching a book to be shelved, Nesta stared into the darkness mere feet from her, so thick that it hovered like a layer of fog, veiling the levels below. When Feyre visits the prison with Cassian, she describes the air similarly. So she says, I'd forgotten it, the weight of the air inside the prison, like wading through the unstirred air of a tomb, like stealing a breath from the open mouth of a skull. So we have mist-like imagery being used to describe the library. So basically, and there's more to this, but what I am thinking is we probably have, I don't know how fully I want to get into this theory right now, but basically what I'm thinking is that there is certainly, or at one point was certainly, a core of Asteri power at the bottom of the library. It fits our pattern of Asteri palaces, right? Asteri digging into or having hollowed out mountains with palaces on top. That is also what the Asteri Palace is like in Crescent City. And then that would potentially mean that this is also a thin place, right? So that would potentially mean that this is also a place where the universe is thin between worlds, basically. That's the beginning of my theory. Well, I want you to respond to that because you have a look on your face.
I'm not like disagreeing necessarily. I guess I'm like, do we have direct parallels? Because I have some direct parallels of like the darkness in hell, like pulsing and feeling the way that the darkness in this pit feels. But I don't have a direct comp for what a core of Asteri power feels like. And so I did not draw a parallel that this could be Asteri power. It feels more, the darkness feels more hell-like to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I think it is. And I think I know exactly what quotes you're going to read because I pulled them too. I think it's a thin place with hell. I think that's what it is, basically. Like, I think what the bottom of the library is basically a mouth to hell. Nesta literally calls it that at one point.
Right.
We'll find the quote. But Nesta literally calls it, as is, like she says, as if it were a gateway to hell. Right. Yeah. The only reason I'm saying there might be a core of Asteri power there as well is because those two things seem to go together. They hid their power in the thin places, and that would have been what could have attracted the beast that would have carved out the mountain. But it might not be. And even if it was there, it might be gone now. I don't know. But I definitely think it's a thin place. Pretty sure.
Okay. A Court of Silver Flames, chapter 15. She says like it was an entry into some dark pit of hell.
Yeah.
She says that about the library.
I mean, it seems pretty certain that it's a thin place with hell. So in House of Flame and Shadow, chapter 60, Adis actually confirms to Bryce that there are ley lines basically between the Fae homeworld and hell. What he says is there are ley lines across the whole of the universe, and the planets like Midgard, like hell, like the homeworld of the Fae, atop those lines are joined by time and space and the void itself. It thins the veil separating us. The northern rift, the southern rift, both lie atop a tremendous knot of ley lines. So we know that the northern rift and the southern rift do open directly to hell within Midgard. I don't know why it would not be the case that we couldn't have something similar in Prothean. Obviously, this isn't a huge rift, right? But I do still think it's a thin place. We also have, and these are, I think, the quotes you were mentioning. Feyre refers to the bottom of the library as a pit. She says, we already read that quote. What's at the bottom of the pit? I asked as Rhys came up beside me, his shoulder brushing mine. Down into the eternal blackness of the pit at the heart of the library. Obviously, in Crescent City, the pit is the 7th and deepest level of hell, and Apollyon is its prince. Nesta and Hunt also have almost identical descriptions for the bottom of the library and the pit in hell, right? So how Nesta describes the bottom of the library, the darkness seemed to rise and fall like it was breathing. There in the heart of the black pit, like a tendril of smoke, something moved. It seemed to expand and contract, throbbing a wild beat. And then Hunt, when he is looking at the pit of hell in House of Flame and Shadow, the quote is, Hunt had a feeling that the darkness in the pit before them was breathing. So again, it's a breathing dark pit. It is like word for word the same.
Yep.
And then, the quote you just read, Nesta literally says, ahead of her, the darkness beckoned down the ramp like it was an entry into some dark pit of hell. Yeah. So, and then this is the quote that everyone loves. Gwyn says she feels something following her, Nesta out of the darkness. No, but Gwyn's swallow was audible. I can feel something like a cat, small and clever and curious. It's watching. Obviously, Adis appears to Bryce as a cat, heavily associated with cats.
Yes.
So it seems like this is a thin place between Prythian and Hell, which raises questions about Bryaxis. Is Bryaxis guarding this thin place, or did he slip through this thin place? That's kind of my question. Like, was he, because this aligns with what you're saying, right? So if he's guarding it, I think he was made by the Asteri to guard it. But if he slipped through, then I think the library is essentially his prison. And the Asteri were like, okay, well, we can't deal with this motherfucker. We're just going to trap him in here so that he can't leave. Right. And he was probably sent, if he slipped through, I imagine he was sent by one of the princes to keep an eye on Prythian, the same way the shepherd keeps an eye on the bone quarter, which is another thin place, by the way. We know that that's a thin place. There is a gate to the death realm, essentially.
Yeah.
In the bone quarter. That's my theory. Basically, that this is a thin place with Hell. Bryaxis is there either because he slept through or because he was guarding it, and the whole library was constructed, which kind of fits with the idea that no one can winnow in or out, right, to the house. But I guess they can winnow within the library. So maybe never mind. Maybe that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think it actually does all still work together. I think it still works. I think the only difference is what was the like Asteri attraction at the bottom.
Why
like
calls to like
core. You think you thought it was a core of power because the worm was attracted to it, which I didn't even think about. But I still think
you're talking about because Gwyn says to Nesta, like calls to like, right?
Well, like, yes, sort of. But it's unclear, right? Because I do think that there is both Hell and Asteri at the bottom of that pit, regardless of whether it's Bryaxis and whatever is at the bottom. Because there's darkness independent of Bryaxis. Like, Bryaxis is gone.
Right.
And there's still darkness there. And Nesta is actually only called to it after Bryaxis is gone. Like, Bryaxis is no longer in the equation when Nesta is feeling this pull. And Gwyn says it's left over from the beast. But, like, I don't really...
But Nesta says it feels far older than that.
Older, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, my thought, I like the idea... I actually am going to latch onto your theory that it's a thin place with Hell, because that makes perfect sense. Let me start at the beginning. I do think that this is the archives on Prythian. That this is the Asteri archives on Prythian. And the reason that I think that, context for everybody, there are probably Asteri archives on Prythian. As a quick refresher for everybody who doesn't recall every word of the tomes that are the Crescent City novels, Bryce discovers the truth about the Asteri being a parasitic world-conquering race in the Asteri archives behind a door named Dusk, where she learns that they had been conquering and in some cases losing worlds for millennia. Sarah sent us reeling when she dropped this quote into Crescent City when Bryce was on Prythian. Bryce is on Prythian. Bryce's got churned. The Asteri must have kept archives and records on this world too, exactly like the room Bryce had found in the palace, full of notes on conquered planets. Dusk, they'd labeled the room, as if out of all the worlds mentioned within, this world remained their focus, this place. She's on Prythian at this point. So Sarah's basically tossing in her face, hey, there are probably Asteri archives somewhere on Prythian. So what libraries do we have on Prythian? We have Helions that we haven't seen. We have the human libraries that have been largely destroyed. And then we probably have some libraries in other courts. We have the library in the House of Wind that seems to be commanded by Rhys, guy we happen to think is very fucking Asteri. So I feel good about like the archives being in this territory, and there's a library here. So I think it can make sense independent of anything else. But this court was an Asteri stronghold, and literally below level 7, and I know we'll talk about this, probably talk about it, I'll talk about it in the next question. Below level 7, they say they've found music. Below level 7, like deep in the library, they have found music, quote, so ancient they predate the written word. Some of them are so old, we didn't even have them in Sangrava. Clotho found them in bookshelf below level 7. Hana shall be the one who plays the lute, figured out how to read the music. This is the music that's playing when Nesta accidentally scries and sees the harp in the prison. So no matter what, whether it's the Asteri archives or not, I think the books below level 7 are from the Daglan era.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're the Asteri books. Books. I don't know whether they're like the Asteri archives, but I think whatever shelf below those levels, there are books there, one, because we like know this from that quote, and two, I think they're probably the Asteri archives. I thought that there were two possibilities. One, Bryaxis was left by the Asteri to guard it, or two, Eris left Bryaxis or stationed Bryaxis to make sure that nobody in Prythian, Asteri or otherwise, ever found that place and ever found out that other worlds were a thing, Daglin were a thing, so that they just stayed safe. And he did that for Selene or something. Or Thanatos. Thanatos is definitely on Prythian. Hell was safeguarding Prythian because they care about Selene. They care about Prythian. Like, they're keeping this place safe from the Asteri. They're basically, like, what does Bryce call them? Intergalactic saviors.
Saviors, yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that they were just guarding them somehow, if that was Hell. And I did think that it was Hell because of exactly what you mentioned, right? The darkness feels similar, right? The darkness in the pit in Hell was breathing. The darkness in the pit in the library was also breathing. Let me see if there's any other quotes. Yeah, the darkness in the library pulsed tendrils of shadow. There's shadow in this darkness. That's very Hell. A lot of pulsing, a lot of Hell. It's giving Hell. My theory for what was at the bottom of the library was this is archives left by the Asteri, information left by the Asteri. The priestesses can get down there now. I don't know whether that was before Bryaxis or just after Bryaxis. They're pulling up this information. This information clearly had an impact on Nesta specifically. And Bryaxis, maybe just the darkness, was Hell or the Asteri protecting it somehow. But I really like your theory that this is actually just a thin place. Maybe that's why the Asteri Archives was stationed there, and that thin place was Hell. Thin place was with Hell. It does make me kind of question why the Asteri Archives was put there, because like Hell is the enemy of the Asteri. So it seems like a precarious place to keep your archives. But they weren't always enemies. So
Bryce is able to change. I have so many thoughts on what you just said. We could talk about this for fucking hours as far as I'm concerned. Bryce is able to change where the Northern Rift lands, right? So the Northern Rift is like pointing towards Hell, and then Bryce with the horn changes it to point to Prythian.
So maybe it was pointing to the Asteri homeworld at one point.
Right. So maybe it was pointing somewhere else, but the last time the horn was used was Hell, and it's just been on Hell since then.
Yeah. And maybe Adis stationed Bryaxis and then was like, bye.
Yeah, maybe Adis was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me because we know there are cracks. We have been told that there are cracks in the rift, right? That's where the demons come from. That's how Adis is able to slip in. There are cracks between the worlds.
Yeah.
So I think this could be either a full rift or one of those cracks. I love the idea of the music being Asteri music and that being what triggers Nesta to do the scrying. That makes so much sense. That. Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna read word for word.
Great. So the reason I have the Asteri first light power, the Asteri power being in there too, is because that they say that the worms, they say that they put their power in thin places, and because Nesta's power, we're told, reacts to it, which we're gonna talk about a bit later too. But I'm still it feels so Cauldron-esque still, and so Hell-esque. I'm still really getting back to the idea that Hell also did something to the Cauldron, whether to combat the Asteri or before that, I don't know. But like Nesta's power reacts to this. We are told it's a like calls to like situation, and it seems so Hell-like. I just want to put that back in everyone's idea again, that the Hell at some point interfered the same way the Asteri interfered with the Cauldron or with something. Yeah. And that's why Nesta seems to have all these Hell moments as well as Asteri moments. Okay. Amazing. I love this question. And I think all of these things work. I think
I think it works
it's
together.
a thin place. I think the archives are there. I think there could be a core of First Light power there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess back in Midgard too, like the cores are very close to the archives as well.
The core is under the archive. Yeah. It's under the Crystal Palace. Yeah. Which is where the archives are. Yeah, it's all there. Yeah. Okay, cool. So like, are we in agreement that the House of Wind was clearly built by the Asteri and was at one point an Asteri palace? Like that just seems that just seems obvious. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was hopefully that was clear. Like warded by someone way before courts. Yeah. Warded by the Asteri. Yep.
We're in agreement. Okay, cool. All right. Anything else for this monster of a question?
Nope. Okay.
All right. Ronnie, what is the prison's connection to the library?
Okay. So we've got some vibes, and then we've got in my opinion, direct connection. So the prison and the House of Wind / the library, I'm going to throw the House of Wind in here, have several parallels. And then we have in my opinion, just straight up link. The difference being we seem to know more of the prison's secrets so far. I think that's the main difference. So parallels, the prison has wards around it that prevent anyone from winnowing directly inside it or even too close. We have the same notes in the House of Wind, right? The House of Wind is warded by who we don't know. The prison is keyed to Rhys's blood by an ancestor who he doesn't know, but we later learn that that's Selene. So he has access to this place, the ability to grant access others as well. The House of Wind and the library are built into a mountain that seems as if it lives to serve him. So these places seem to bend to Rhys, who is, High Lord of the Night Court. The prison is said to be law unto itself. The library is said to make its own rules. So there are parallels between the prison and the House of Wind and the library in that they are these places that seem to have been different things before they were what they are today. And they have these predating kind of ancient wards. Don't know who put them there. We don't know how they came to be. They seem to be created by a different magic than what exists in the world of Prythian, or at least the Fey magic that's there today, and kind of have these self-governing laws. The main difference is that we just know the prison's big secret, right? Vesperus is at the bottom of it, and it was an Asteri stronghold. The libraries, we've not learned yet. We've not gone to the bottom. We've not seen what's down there. The prison was made into a prison filled with inmates disguised to be something it's not, when in reality, it was many things. It's the ruins of the Dust Court. It's concealing a chamber in which one of the items of the dread trove, the harp, was sitting at the bottom. It was concealing a rotting Asteri. It was concealing Vesperus.
I did at first absolutely think that there was a dead Asteri, or not a dead Asteri, but an entombed Asteri at the bottom of the library. But I think I'm assuming we're done with that question and neither one of us think that, right?
Yeah, I mean, to do that twice would be odd.
To do that twice would be odd. She
and
said...
to have a third person narration of like the last Asteri in Prythian.
Exactly.
Gone.
But just to reiterate everything you just said, yes, the prison is many things, which is why the library can be many things too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if you're drawing all of these parallels between the prison and the library, like the library has been built into a library, built into a refuge, built into this like show house. What else was it? I think we're going to find that out. I think that's what the whole last question is about, but we shall find out. Anything like literary parallels before we talk about the direct connection? In my opinion, what the direct connection is.
No, I basically just have a theory for this one, but yeah, no, keep going.
The direct connection, in my opinion, that we have is that Nesta is in a cave in the library when she inadvertently scries and sees the harp in the prison. Everyone go read A Court of Silver Flames, chapter 52, again, if you want to understand this better, because I'm not going to read the entire chapter, but it's a good one. It's a good one, and we'll pull a few quotes. So Nesta attends a service at Gwyn's invitation, right? At this service, very old music is played that was found at the bottom of the library by Clotho. We'll just quickly recap this quote. Some of the songs you'll hear are so ancient, they predate written words. Some of them are so old, we didn't even have them in Sangrava. Clotho found them in books shelved below level 7, getting very dark below level 7.
Right, level 6 is where shit gets weird, guys, so.
Level 7, a lot of people can't stomach being like, even at level 5 is when things get like, where Nesta starts getting pretty uncomfortable. Hannah, she'll be the one who plays the lute, figured out how to read the music. How did she figure out how to read the music? I'd like to meet her. I don't know. When Nesta hears the music, we don't necessarily clock it until a little bit later, but she is effectively taken to the prison, right, in her mind's eye.
Yeah.
So the music took form behind Nesta's eyes as the priestesses sang lyrics in languages so old, no one voiced them anymore. She saw what the song spoke of: mossy earth and golden sun, clear rivers and the deep shadows of an ancient forest. The harp strummed, and mountains rolled ahead as if a veil had been cleared with the stroke of those strings, and she was flying toward a massive mist-veiled mountain, and the land barren save for moss and stones and a gray, stormy sea around it. The mountain itself held 2 peaks at its very top, and the stones jutting from its sides were carved in strange ancient symbols as old as the song itself. So the prison that Nesta sees even has the same notes of the lingering darkness that she experiences in the library. I won't read the full continuous quotes. This is now Nesta is still hearing the music in the prison, right? Darkness so complete it was primordial. Darkness that was full of living things, terrible things. Pulsing is used many times. Similar words used to describe the darkness in the library, right? And the prison and the library, we talked about this, were both places occupied by the Asteri, and today continue to conceal secrets of theirs. So Nesta's in the library. Nesta hears music that was below level 7, kept below level 7 of this library, and is suddenly accidentally scrying and is taken to the prison and literally shown the harp, like scries the harp. They're connected. And it's by the Asteri. And it's by the Asteri. So that's it.
Yeah. I pretty much had the same thing, but I had a interesting theory based off that. But yeah, I mean, they're connected by the Asteri. This gets back to my idea that there's a core of First Light under the prison too, right? Because if those two things exist, or it could just be that they're both thin places, like, yeah, we know that the Asteri carved the portals basically that can quickly take you through Prithian. So like there's this idea that thin places doesn't necessarily need to be between worlds either, right? It can be within the same world that you can like quickly hop from point A to point B, either corporeally or non-corporeally, I suppose.
Yeah, true. So I guess they go to hell as non-corporeal.
Yeah, they sure do. They sure do. Well, and what Nesta just did, right, with the scrying, like that's also non-corporeal.
Yeah, and what Aelin does in her dream.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned Selene a lot, justifiably so, with the prison. My only thought for this really is like Selene is High Lady, or sorry, she's not High Lady, but she's Lady of the Night Court, right? So like I assume she lived in and around Valeris and probably at the House of Gwyn, because this seems to be the like ancestral palace for the High Lords and Ladies of the Night Court. And Selene certainly seems like Rhys's ancestor, right?
Yeah.
If she knows that there's a core of Asteri power hidden at the bottom of the House of Wind, like basically did she do something similar here as what she did with the prison? Did she build the library to try to cover up the core of the First Light power and like put Bryaxis down there to cover up that feeling of evil, right? Like I'm guessing if there is a core First Light power, it's nowhere near as strong as what was in the prison. But like we've talked about potentially Bryaxis slipping through. We've talked about Bryaxis being stationed there by a Prince of Hell. But we know that Selene hunted down monsters and put them in strategic places to cover up the Asteri, right? And we know that these doors to the library open as if on a phantom wind to Rhys, pretty similar to what happens at the prison, right? So is this another piece of Selene's handiwork is basically my question. Like, did she kind of put Bryaxis there as part of her cover-up? Obviously, we didn't get that as part of her story.
Yeah. And like, why wouldn't she mention it?
Because she wants all traces of the Asteri forgotten. Like, is this part of the cover-up, basically? I don't really know. I don't know if it would work story-wise for it to be once again a Selene cover-up. Like, that might be pretty lame. But again, and it's just kind of an out there theory. But like, if you look at the parallels between the place, like, was the library once basically a mini prison? Like, is that what it was? And then I think Rhys said he was the one who kind of came in. We know that there used to be scholars who worked at the library, right? So at one point it was truly a library. And then Rhys came in and kind of made it the sanctuary that it was, which lines up so well with this idea of the house, by the way, being neither good nor evil. Like it kind of has evil roots, but now it's doing good things. Like I just really like that from a literary perspective. Like it can be both. So that's my only thought, that maybe this is Selene's handiwork once again, basically.
Yeah. I don't know who else it would be.
Not within Prithian.
Right. Like unless it were Thanatos. Like that's the only other person I could think of who seems to still be around.
Okay. All right. We have our last question now. And that question is, why are Nesta and Emerie susceptible to the darkness in the library, but Gwyn is not? I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't have an awesome answer for this. But just because we don't have an answer doesn't mean we're not going to ask the question. Right.
Still a very valid question.
It's still a very valid question. So I've already read this quote where Nesta hears the darkness of the library calling to her. We get a later quote from Emerie that implies she hears something similar. So the quote from that is, Emerie's eyes turned bleak. I swear I can hear my father yelling down here. Her hands trembled as she lifted one to brush a strand of hair behind an ear. I can hear him screaming at me, can hear the furniture breaking. And that's in A Court of Silver Flames, chapter 56. Again, this is so Valk, right? So Valk Prince. Like this is exactly what they did to Aelin in Airfire. Yeah, Airfire. But Gwyn, strangely enough, doesn't seem to feel anything, right? So The quote for that is, Nesta waited for the chiding, the ridicule, and disbelief, but Gwyn only asked gravely, what did you see? Why? Nesta asked, do you see things in that darkness? Her voice was thin. No, but some of the others do. They say that the dark has trailed them right to their doors. Gwyn shivered. I saw darkness, Nesta managed to say. Her heart would not calm. Pure darkness, the likes of which she had not seen since being in the cauldron. We read that already. The explanation that we are given is that the reason why Nesta and Emerie are susceptible to this, but Gwyn is not, is because they have been through trauma. However, Gwyn has been through horrific trauma, right? Like Gwyn has probably had it worse than either of them.
Was assaulted, lost her twin sister in front of her eyeballs.
Her twin sister was literally beheaded in front of her. So this is pretty bad. So the Valg, just to get back to the Valg princes, like they do seem to feed on your worst moments. When Selena encounters them in Air of Fire, the quote for that is blackness, a wave of it slamming down on her, not oblivion, but actual dark, as if he'd thrown a blanket over the two of them. And then we find out what she is seeing, although we do not know at the time, is kind of her parents' death and her finding their body. So it's like very similar to what happened to Emerie, right? Where it's like the worst moments being replayed. But it seems like everyone is susceptible to a Valg Prince darkness. So I don't know what Gwyn would have in her that would make her not susceptible to this. Obviously, we've talked about the potential for her being starborn at this point, right? Her being a descendant of Helion, or her being a granddaughter of Helion would make her starborn, but Nesta is starborn too. So that would not necessarily be
elaborate. Helion, is it a descendant of Thea?
We think that Helion, I'm sorry, you're right. Okay. So we think that Helion has potential to be starborn because he said that the mask rakes its cold claws down his senses, and he thinks perhaps an ancestor of his wore it. And obviously he glows, right? He seems to have starlight, at least some facet of starlight power. If Gwyn is Lucian's daughter, which we went over on the top of the episode, that means that she is Helion's granddaughter, which would explain why she glows, right? Which we think is potentially all starborn power that leads back to Thea. So if she is starborn as well as Nesta, and guys, there can be like varying levels of this. Like she might be starborn the way Rune is starborn, right? And not as powerful as the way that Bryce is. But I would think that her and Nesta would have the same reaction to this darkness. And that doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah. And even if not, like, let's set aside for a moment the thought that, because we don't need to take as law, right, the idea that Nesta is starborn necessarily. Like she could have something else. She's got death power, like she's got Deanna, like that doesn't necessarily need to be starborn, although the 8-pointed star is hard to argue with. But even if that's not the case, like Aelin is still susceptible to Valg visions, and she's got straight up flame that can destroy them.
Yeah.
So what Gwyn would have to be pretty crazy if this is like Valg darkness. Unless this is, like you said, unless this is like more Prithian than we're understanding, that it's truly just light and darkness. Like if she has like light of day and this is darkness and it's truly like something more simple than we are realizing.
Almost certainly.
Then sure. I don't really think the invoking stone is an explanation, even though Gwyn seems to hold it up and use it to deflect. I was trying to go down a path of like what the darkness could be, like if it's Asteri versus hell.
I mean, I think it's hell. I think it's hell/Valg darkness.
Right.
Yeah. The short answer is we don't know what this is.
It's odd.
It's odd. I would agree that it's odd, and hopefully we get some explanation for it, because the explanation that Gwyn has not suffered trauma the way that Emerie and Nesta has is bullshit.
And like common things between Nesta and Emerie that Gwyn does not have are that they are from the Night Court. That's about it, seemingly. But like Nesta's
not even really from the Night Court. Yeah.
Like Emerie is Illyrian, so she's not even really high fae.
Well, like, so what I was thinking was, if so many ifs, so stick with me. If hell has corrupted the cauldron the way that the Asteri had, Nesta has hell power, right? So then she feels susceptible to it. If hell, as we've talked about, had some part in creating the first Illyrians, Emerie is descended from Analius and the first Illyrians, right? Then that would also be a susceptibility to hell and this hell power. But Aelin is where it falls apart, because we don't have a connection between Aelin and Hel. And she seems, if this is the same type of power, she seems susceptible to it as well.
Yeah. The Illyrians also, like, canonically have Asteri, are, like, made by the Asteri.
Correct. Yeah. We don't know this one. Sorry, guys. We don't always have answers. Sometimes we just have questions.
The question is a good one.
Question's a good one.
The answer is unclear. Okay.
All right. Pre-cog
Pre-cog
corner. You want to go first?
Sure. Okay. I don't think you're going to like this one. So I'm apologizing to you in advance. Maybe you'll like it.
To me specifically.
You specifically. Because I know how much you love. Well, it complements your theory, but it is in technically disagreement with one of your theories. So
okay, that's fine.
I apologize for that. All right. So you brought up the theory, which everyone loves and is a really good theory, that Eris is a true prince of hell.
I don't know that everyone loves it, but sure. You don't love it.
I like it. I'm totally down for if the series goes that way. I think it's super fun. I think I would be sort of surprised, but again, also very down if there were a second occurrence in this universe where somebody ripped into a bunch of siblings' minds and was like, here I am, hello. But I'm like 80%. I am like 80%, which is crazy high for like the theories that we come up with on this podcast based on the evidence that you put forward and then a thing I came across on research for this episode that Eris is a son of hell, like 80% plus.
Okay.
And I think it's Thanatos. I think Thanatos made him the same way that Apollyon contributed his powers to hunt. Thanatos has hounds and the same exact sniffing powers that Eris has, like the same exact ones. And here are the receipts. So Thanatos has hounds and Eris has hounds. That's the point here, guys. He saw them then. This is the quote from Crescent City. The dogs, their milky eyes glowed from the gloom between the pillars. They will not harm you, Ada said, nodding toward the hounds that looked an awful lot like the shepherd that Bryce and Hunt had fought in the Bone Quarter. They are Thanatos' companions. Skipping past some stuff. My concern exactly, Bryce said, not taking her attention off the hounds. She nodded to Thanatos. He eats souls. Then Apollyon says, we're not going to defile this temple with violence. And I'm going to skip some stuff. Thanatos sniffed towards Bryce, almost as canine as the hounds in the shadows, and said, your starlight smells fresher. Bryce said nonchalantly, new deodorant. No, yeah. Thanatos said, missing the joke entirely, I can smell it on your spirit. I am the Prince of Souls. Such things are known to me. Your power has been touched by something new. Thanatos sniffed the air once more, savoring it, and earned a glare from Adis from the beginning. Eris demonstrates his kind of canine sniffing power. As a reminder, Eris has these smokehounds. They're his companions, if you will. And Eris sniffed the night's breeze. How he detected Moore's lingering scent, Cassian didn't know. Perhaps Eris and his smokehounds had more in common than he realized. Like, these are the same power. So Apollyon and Hunt's power. Why do you think you're so adept at hunting demons? It's in your blood. Part of me is in your blood. Like Apollyon's lightning arcs to meet Hunt's. These books were published a year and a half apart. It would be really weird to me if Apollyon had given a diluted version of his power to Hunt, and Thanatos and Eris were, one, written this way, so close together, and two, Thanatos and Eris are written in the same fucking paragraph and have the same fucking power. So Eris with his slender hands, with his hell-like qualities, like I think you're totally right about all of that. But I think Eris is Thanatos's, quote, son.
I think I love it.
If you put aside all of like the name stuff, which I understand, like the mythology names are like, they would be a fun hint if that were the case. But like to have the same power as a brother, I don't know.
I love it. It's full stop. I love it. I think that works because I just think if Thanatos is Eris's father, I think Eris knows way more than what Hunt knew. Right? Like Eris knows.
And they're in the same world.
They're in the same world in theory. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. This is all a theory. Obviously, all a theory.
Where my mind went is, okay, then who the fuck is Thanatos' daughter?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then my mind went to Danica with the sniffing.
Yeah. And is that what bloodhounds are? Yeah. It's just Thanatos' children.
Mine. I don't know. I don't know. Danica is dead. We're told Danica is dead. What death is in this world, I do not know at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that, and that might work a little bit better because Eris doesn't seem quite powerful enough to be a Prince of Hell. I think no matter what, he's in cahoots with them, though. Like, it just seems like he knows way too fucking much.
Yeah. I just can't get the Thanatos sniffed almost
sniffing.
canine as the hounds in the shadows. Like,
That's Eris, bitch.
That's Eris.
Are any of the sons of the Lady of the Autumn Court Barons, any of them? A single one? Because, like, with Hunt, his dad was still his dad. So do we think Baron is still his dad?
So this
or
still
do we
could
think
mean that Eris could be an heir and a son of Hell?
Yeah.
Which would be fucking
could be
wild.
all of it.
And I also think we'll talk about this maybe next episode. But if Celine is Adis's, are Eris and Rhys cousins?
Which would make sense. Yeah. Okay. I love that. Love it.
So maybe he's still a full Prince of Hell. Maybe he's Thanatos' brother and just has the exact same powers, but they have the exact same fucking powers.
Yeah. No, it's great. That's what I love. That's why I love this universe. Yay. My precog is also about a Prince of Hell.
Great.
It's not a theory as much as it is a question that leads to other questions. And the question is, what the hell are dreams in this universe? The reasons why I am asking this question. Well, I'll just start with the quote that sent me down this spiral. So in House of Sky and Breath, chapter 62, we have Apollyon talking to Bryce in a dream. Keep that in mind. That's important. We have Apollyon talking to Bryce in a dream. He actually appears to both Bryce and Hunt in dreams. When he appears to Bryce, she asks him if they're speaking in a real world or a dream world. What he says is dream world or what you consider to be dreams, ... Then we get, she wasn't going to touch that one. What do you mean, what you consider to be dreams? So then I kind of started thinking about this. We've already talked about what Nesta kind of is able to do in a dream, right? She basically, when she's crying, she says it's like a dream. The quote for that is, she never heard such music, like a spell, a dream given form, the entire room saying, each voice resonating through the stone. And then she scries for the harp and she finds the harp, right? So like, this is a real place, right? This is the prison. We know this is a real place, but it seems like she's visiting it in a dream. And we have other characters that are able to do this in dreams. So we've talked about this a lot. Vesperus dreams of the middle, right? The quote for that is, they have a place in this land for creatures like me, the unwanted. It is called the middle. I have dreamt of it, seen it long in my slumber. So we know that Vesperus can do this. We know that Rhys can do this because Rhys sees Feyre's life through her dreams. I am now throwing Apollyon's name in the ring as well because we have Apollyon visiting both Bryce and Hunt in these dreams, right? So this is like I think this is an actual power. Like people can actually traverse whatever this dream world is.
Well, and Aelin does it. That's how she gets the Eye of Elena.
Aelin does it. That's how she gets the Eye of Elena. Wait, doesn't she go through a... Oh, you're fucking right.
That's the only way she goes into Elena's tomb.
Holy shit, you're fucking right. Aelin
and then she
can
like
do it.
physically gets the amulet that way.
Yeah. Holy shit. Okay, so what are dreams in this universe? What is this power? Who can do this? That's fucking wild. So that's basically the main theory. The main question here is, what are dreams? The only other note I have for this is Vesperus says she goes to the middle in her dreams, right? We later find out, we find out in Silver Flames that the mask is in the middle, right? The mask is in the middle. Vesperus dreams of the middle. Nesta dreams of the prison where the harp is. Eris says in Silver Flames that the trove might be reaching out to others, right? So the quote for that is, if the trove has a sentience like you suggested, if it wants to be found, I fear that it might also be reaching out to others as well, not just Brialyn and Kostya. We now have Apollyon, who we know can traverse dreams, basically, right? Is the trove also reaching out to the Princes of Hell? Is this dreaming basically the way that the trove reaches out? I don't know. Just a theory, but the dreams, we might have to at some point do a bonus episode on the dreaming because I think it's fucking wild and I think it's going to be important. I love the Aelin thing hadn't even occurred to me. You're so fucking right.
Yeah, I think we need to get deeper into the Maasverse before we do dreams. But I agree.
Certainly.
Maybe a Crescent City season, maybe even a Throne of Glass season.
Yeah. Cool. All right. What
I
are
agree
you
though. Crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. Love it. I love it. Okay. What are you reading?
I'm still rereading Brimstone at a snail's pace, and I am also reading Alchemized at a snail's pace. Those are the things that I'm reading.
How's the Brimstone reread going? Are you liking it more?
I am.
Okay.
I'm liking it more. I think slow is the way to go with this book. It is just chaotic. I think the people who liked it were the people who liked a chaotic read. And there are things laid out that I missed, but they were laid out very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But there are things I missed. There are things I missed. Or there are things where you go back and you're like, oh, yeah, got it.
Cool. Well, I'll
reread
reread it at some point. I just decided that now was not the time because I was kind of too annoyed.
Yeah. No, like I get that. And I understand where everybody's at.
But yeah, I'd see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Cool.
But I'm enjoying the reread.
Are you liking Alchemized?
I'm liking Alchemized, yeah. I think I told you I did, like, for the first 100 pages, I was like, I can't separate what I know were the Harry Potter parallels because I did know the plot of Manacled. So that has been kind of challenging is the wrong word because it's not making the book worse. It's just like it's
Your
like
brain,
reading
like synapses.
It's like reading something in code almost.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm reading in code.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, like the context behind Alchemized is it's basically a reformed version of a Harry Potter fan fiction, a very famous one called Manacled. And it's Hermione, for those who like Hermione fanfic, which I definitely did. But it's been interesting. It's been good. So I feel like it's been a good one to read slowly.
I think Alchemized, I both read it faster than I wanted to and also took my time with it. So it took me about a week is what I'm trying to say. Because I loved it. Because I wanted to devour it, but I also knew I was missing things. And I am rereading it now in conjunction with a different book. And I am taking my time with it. And it is so much clearer on a reread in a great way. In a great way, in my opinion. Like it is a puzzle that you piece together as you read. And in the best way.
Yeah. I know. Like part of me had to convince myself not to just read Manacled.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, I have to like work to understand a new magic system. But I'm excited to work to understand the new magic system. I enjoy doing that. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. That's what we do here.
I know.
Cool. All right. We are Dragons and Details Pod on all social media channels. We are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Oh, we're on Facebook. I made us a Facebook. We have 3 followers. Right. If you want to follow us on Facebook, be our guest.
3 followers.
Maybe we have more now. That was last time I checked. We are dragonsandthedetailspod@gmail.com. If you want to email us, we love hearing from you guys. We are also dragonsandthedetails.com. If you want to check us out there, we also have a submission form there if you want to email us that way. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe, review. Helps us out a lot. We are a small podcast, but we are trying to grow. That's it. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.